Let's bring in Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk Live co-host. I don't know what you make of what we just said there, Mike, but we did fill up about 4 minutes.
Yeah, no, it allowed me to catch up on some text messages, so I appreciate that.
Was McLovin being mean to Drew Brees?
He wasn't being mean to Drew Brees. Look, there are categories like this where reasonable minds will differ. The thing that impresses me the most about Drew Brees, number one, inch for inch, pound for pound, arm strength for arm strength. I think he got more out of his God-given abilities than any other quarterback in the history of the NFL. And the statistical things that amaze me the most, Dan, number one, breaking the Johnny Unitas record of consecutive games with a touchdown pass, 47. It stood for so long. Unbelievable how long it stood. Brees broke that and extended it to 54. And also, there had been one 5,000-yard season before Drew Brees in 2011. That was Dan Marino. Well, actually, Brees got to 5,000 before 2011. He broke the record in 11. Dan Marino had 5,084 in 1984. Brees has 5,000-yard seasons. No one else has more than one. Now, that's going to change with 17 games and just the way the game is moving. But just from the standpoint of statistical accomplishment and changing the narrative forever when it comes to short quarterbacks, he deserves a spot in that top 10, whether it's 5, whether it's 8, whether it's 10. Again, reasonable minds can differ, but he's one of the all-time greats.
And the heir apparent in New Orleans is going to be?
I think it's Taysom Hill. Sean Payton has said on record on multiple occasions he wants Jameis Winston to re-sign and compete. The question is, what dollar value can you put on a Jameis Winston contract, especially when you're scrambling to get under the salary cap as it is, restructuring every contract possible, cutting guys that you would like to keep on the team. Surely they would have liked to have kept Emmanuel Sanders. Some guys you're just going to have to move on from. But Hill's making about $12 million this year. Ignore the stuff yesterday about the 4-year, $140 million contract. That's all made up. That's all phony. That's just a device.
But explain that, though, Mike, because we all looked at it and went, wait, what are they doing in New Orleans?
Well, we've seen this more and more recently, and I think the reduced salary cap this year, Dan, has a lot to do with it. Teams are adding voidable years onto contracts so they can spread cap dollars. A signing bonus gets spread over multiple years. So when you have a guy like Taysom who's got 1 year left on his contract, there's nowhere to spread any of the money. So you have to do a new contract with voidable years. Voidable means fake, phony. They're going to go away. The contract disappears. So you add 4 years. And I don't think it was an accident that the value was $35 million per year, $140 million. That's the Russell Wilson contract. I think that was kind of an impish little wink nod by the Saints and by Taysom Hill that they're not going to be getting Russell Wilson or even trying to. But that gets presented as 4 years, $140 million, and it's fake. It's phony. It's not real. He's not getting that. But there's people out there who see it and they think, oh, they're paying him $35 million a year when they're not. It was just a device for creating $7.75 million in cap space that they may end up using to keep Jameis Winston, who'll be the top competition for Taysom Hill at quarterback.
You think Taysom Hill is going to be the starting quarterback in New Orleans?
I think he's got the inside track on the job. He passed the test last year when Drew Brees was injured. The question is, can he stay healthy? And can he outperform Jameis Winston in a head-to-head competition? Winston's been there for a year. First, Winston has to agree to whatever they're offering for him to stay. We'll find out after noon Eastern on Monday whether or not somebody else swoops in and tries to sign him. But, Dan, you look at it from Winston's perspective, I don't see another team that's going to offer him a clear shot to a starting job. His best play may be to take whatever he can get in New Orleans, try to secure the job this year, win the competition this year, and then set himself up for a contract next year.
Any news on the Russell Wilson front with the Bears offering whatever they're supposedly offering, even something that you're not allowed to offer, which is, first-round picks the next 5 years, which you can only do 4 years, but we were told it was 5 years. Seattle hasn't engaged. This is a game of tennis, but they haven't returned serve here, Mike.
Well, I've heard that it's crickets right now as far as any talk about a possible trade. That doesn't mean it can't happen. But if the Bears are going to do it, they're getting closer and closer to the point where they have to figure out what they're going to do because their plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E, plan F is going to potentially dry up. So, at some point, you're going to see the Bears make a move that's going to slam the door, just like the Cowboys last week with Prescott slams the door. I think the Saints doing this restructuring with Taysom Hill slams the door there. Here's the real question that I have, because I'm not sure the Bears can put together enough of a package that would get the Seahawks interest. We know that Mark Rodgers, Russell Wilson's agent, has identified 4 teams: Raiders, Bears, Cowboys, Saints. Here's the question. Are there other teams that he's holding back that Russell Wilson would accept a trade to if the alternative is staying in Seattle? Could the Panthers make the list? Could the Jets, who have that second overall pick and 4 total first-round picks over the next 2 years, 2 of them previously belonged to the Seahawks before the Jamal Adams trade, could the Jets be a place? Could the Dolphins be a place if it doesn't work out with Deshaun Watson? So it makes me wonder, are there other teams? Were the 4 just a starting point? Because I think it's going to take someone who can really give the Seahawks an obvious path to a franchise quarterback to get this thing done this year. Otherwise, deal with the dysfunction for a year and do a trade next year, assuming that there is dysfunction.
I think the Raiders make the most sense out of all this. I can get a quarterback in return, because if I'm Pete Carroll, I don't want Geno. Like, who's my quarterback here? You know, Andy Dalton or fill in the blank. Throw out somebody there. I got to get a franchise quarterback of sorts, and I got to get draft picks here. And that, to me, makes more sense than the Bears do.
Well, and then the question becomes, would John Gruden really want to shift from Derek Carr to Russell Wilson, given what he's going to have to give up to get Russell Wilson? You know, John Gruden always wants a different quarterback than the one he has. But then the opportunity comes to get one, and, well, I kind of like the guy that I have, given that I'd have to give up a bunch of stuff to go get Russell Wilson. You know, Derek Carr's got 3 years in this system now. He's getting to the point where he's comfortable doing what Gruden wants. Gruden has gotten him to that level. How long would it take to get Russell Wilson to where you need him to be? And the other side of it too, Dan, when you trade for one of these quarterbacks who isn't real happy where he currently is, you're inheriting those problems. What if you can't protect him the way that he'd like to be protected? What happens the next time he's up for a contract? He's going to want to get to $45 million a year. Every time he does a new contract, he gets at or close to the top of the market. So it's not just getting him, it's keeping him that's an issue too. And I just think that even though it's got the potential to be an issue that hovers over the Seahawks all year long, and any adversity, any issues, any losses, any multiple turnover performances, that question's going to come up for Pete Carroll, for Russell Wilson, for other players. It's the ultimate distraction. But it looks like they're just going to try to deal with it for a year unless they get blown away by someone and Russell says, okay, I'll take a trade to that team.
Do you think Russell Wilson, if he goes to a new team, is going to stand pat with his current contract, given what everybody else is making?
No.
Yeah, that's what nobody is talking about. That. Yes.
Yeah. You're going to have to give up all that stuff to get him. And then as soon as he walks through the door, ideally, you want to get the deal done. I'm not a big fan of these contracts we've seen the past couple of years, whether it's Laramie Tunsil, Jalen Ramsey, Jamal Adams. You give up multiple first-round picks for a guy who has a contract you're eventually going to have to deal with. If you don't deal with it on the way through the door, he has all the leverage as you go forward. Because what are you going to do? Not pay him when you've given up multiple first-round draft picks to get the guy? So we saw the Texans overpay Tunsil. We saw the Rams arguably overpay Ramsey. We're going to see the Seahawks potentially overpay Adams. I'd want to get a new deal done with Russell Wilson on the way in, because the thing is, over the next year or two, it's only going to get more expensive.
Aaron Jones signing a team-friendly contract, would you say?
Well, the devil's always in the details, and the details remain concealed, especially on the first day that the news comes out. Look, the Packers could have kept him for the next 2 years under the franchise tag at a total payout of $19 million. My understanding, haven't seen the numbers yet, but my understanding is this 4-year, $48 million deal is 2 years, $19 million, and then it's a Packers option for year 3 and year 4, like so many of these deals are. It's guaranteed for 2 years, 3 at the most, and then it's a team option every year after that. But if they could have kept him for $19 million under the tag for last year and this year, I don't know why they'd pay him more than $19 million to sign him to a long-term deal, especially when they got A.J. Dillon, second-round pick last year. Packers fans get salty when I point this out, and I don't know whether it's because only Packers fans are allowed to say this, but what the hell were they doing with their draft picks last year? Could you imagine if they had actually invested their first-round pick in a receiver or someone who would have, played last year? Would that have been the difference? in the game against the Buccaneers? Would they have gotten to the Super Bowl and potentially won it? And how can you not be questioning what they were thinking about that burning desire to win now? They have a team that's ready to win now, Dan.
Well, they draft a quarterback, then they draft a running back,
Right.
And you're right, because if I'm Green Bay, bringing back Aaron Jones is wonderful. I don't have a playmaker defensively that, can change a game. And my offensive line, I still have to make sure I shore that up if, Tampa's going to make another run at this. What do you expect to happen this week? Anything big in free agency?
Well, people are always going to get paid at the top end. It may not be as many guys, but the stars are going to get paid. This salary cap reduction is going to hurt the middle level guys. And the one position that fascinates me, because we know how important pass rush is, there are so many pass rushers available in free agency. I think that's why the Buccaneers didn't franchise tag Shaq Barrett. And I have a feeling they're going to let him walk away, because 2 years ago, Dan, they got him for 1 year, $4 million, and he had 19 and a half sacks. There are so many names out there of guys that you could plug into that defense, and maybe they just get another Shaq Barrett from 2019 instead of breaking the bank to keep him. Let someone else pay him. Let him get his reward. You could get 2 or 3 guys or more to address other needs on your team than what it would be in comparison to pay Shaq Barrett. So I think he gets paid by somebody who just wants to be able to hold up a New Jersey and say, we took Tampa Bay's best defensive player. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay is going to find somebody who dollar for dollar has more production.
Shaq Barrett's in our bracket challenge, as you are as well. Do you know anything about college basketball?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
You probably do well.
I usually know very little. This year, it's less than ever before. I'm just going to, I don't know what I'm going to do. Just random flip a coin, something. I'm going to, but I can't do any worse than if I actually knew anything. I've tried it that way. It doesn't work.
Thank you, Mike. Great to talk to you.
See you, Dan.
And that's Mike Florio.